Welcome to Wayback Wednesday. This is our latest feature. We will be replaying some of the best nuggets, sort of a golden oldies, if you will. And here we go. Welcome to Nugget 25 with Steve Groman.
If the evolutionists that made up the word species in the first place, and that all of our children have to learn when they learn the chart, the kingdom, the phylum, they go through the whole thing. They learn those charts. Species is right there with it. The fact of the matter is the people who made the idea up in the first place say they don't have a clue how to define it. Well, then why would I want to take what God says and rework it into man-made terminologies when man doesn't even know what his own terms mean? In 2004, they came out in science publications and admitted that the entire classification system doesn't work. In 2017, they came back up with articles talking about how the traditional taxonomists and the DNA barcoding way of doing things, they're at odds with each other. They don't know how to identify these animals and life and species and such. So I never want to use man's made-up terminologies to substitute for what the Bible says.
Why do you think they have so much trouble? What's the rub?
Because they made it up. And since they made the word up in the first place, there is nowhere to ultimately define it down because there's always going to be somebody that wants to include something somewhere that it's not included there.
Well, can you give us an example
of something? Well, they say that it has to be able to mate with each other.
Okay, so that's the bottom line.
Yeah, in a nutshell, that's the bottom line. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to push you on this species thing here, okay? You got to give us an example of what they use to make them change their mind. What is something that you could give us?
One example would be there is a squirrel on the one side of the Grand Canyon that cannot mate with a squirrel on the other side of the Grand Canyon. And it's not because of distance.
And you're being serious?
Yes. They're both squirrels, and they both look like squirrels, but they can't mate. So therefore they say, well, they got to be a different species. But then that creates a problem because they're identical in every other aspect. It's just one of the things. There are just all kinds of evidences and issues. Their ideas don't make sense. So that's just a funny one, but it's still one.
I got to say this. That's pretty squirrely.
It is. They have all kinds of fights and arguments and discrepancies and oftentimes bitter stuff. Scientific published papers, up to almost 36 now, trying to define what a species is. So the point is, well, I'm not going to use anything they have. I'll stick to what the Bible says.
God dividing up things by their kind, those are much broader categories.
Yes, they are, and that's okay. That's the way God chose to do it, so that ought to be good enough for us.
Kind of basic and simple and straightforward.
You know, the creation is basic and simple and straightforward, but the evolutionists have so tried to complicate things in a place that we can't understand it. That's what they've done with everything, and it's just not the way God says. So we always need to take every issue and go back to what is thus saith the Lord.
Like, subscribe, hit that little bell, and tell others about our YouTube channel. Thank you.